All right, folks. Welcome back to the Hurricane H show, the EMBC network, and we're going to be talking on the business channels. We're here, so we're going to talk a lot, with my guest about business and leadership, entrepreneurship, the ups and downs in the world of just making it happen. And so my guest, as you can see, is Muhammad Qasim, and he is a business expert, entrepreneur, a leader, a real estate guru in the Dubai market and worldwide. Has been around, been there, done that. So, but we've met a couple times, in different events, and we connected. I love his energy. I love what he has to offer. And today we're gonna just have a nice little chat about business as a whole, and the different things that come out of it. The leadership, the business development, some of the challenges, and so on and so forth. So, without any further ado, Mohammed, welcome to the show, brother. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. What about you, man?
Yeah, listen, man, just another day in paradise, as they say, right? We're just having fun, one day at a
Amazing, amazing.
time. That's it. That's it. Well,
Yeah,
so Mohammed, I kind of give a brief introduction, but it's not never enough, to introduce you. So let's talk about your story, because I know when we first met, you gave
yeah,
me the whole, how it all happened for you. Like you came in with one purpose, just temporary, and then you wound up staying in the UAE, and the road just took you from one thing to the other, from a business to ownership, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about your background and stuff to just bring you closer to our audiences, and so then we can dive into the world of business, and we can
sure.
also talk about the market as it is today.
Okay, sure. I will start with my introduction. And as you know, like I was a previously teacher, so I will dive back into like my past and I will go through it, like what exactly I have been doing over there. So I'm a MPhil in biotechnology, and I have expanded myself like into the teaching industry. Over there, I started with a startup, and the name was Sinovative. It's science and innovation based startup. We are working on the 3D printing technology and a lot of stuff like that. Then I entered into the Dubai market. So how I entered is actually quite impressive story, and it's very different because I never ever thought or opted to come into Dubai market. So one of my like father's friend, he talked me about it. Like he invited me to like look into his business in Dubai. Maybe I'll find it interesting because he's a business tycoon. He's having like a lot of businesses in the market. So he want me to see and like see the operations of the company, like how they are happening. When I entered into the market, I see a lot of loopholes over there. I mentioned him. He said, "Why don't you lead if you know about the problems?" So over there, like when I took like the critical analysis of the business, he gave me the opportunity to lead the business. So then I started into a marketing company. I became the partner in that one, and we struggle and we go through it. I'll brief you about like what are the like some challenges that I have faced during the journey of being as a like partner, working with some third parties or more than one individuals, like not a solo partnership. Then I have like gone for the management in a garage industry. I experienced that as well. Then after that, like I'm into the real estate. Now I'm the real estate guru.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, you're being, very brief about it, but there's a lot. Well, first of all, being a teacher is just one world. I mean, that's a whole world in its own. And then
Yeah.
you had the opportunity to come to the UAE to work in this business and kind of do an assessment, right? And by the way, I think that's pretty interesting because I mean, I've done consulting for many years, and
Hmm.
it's a world on its own too. So when you go into a company or business and you try to figure out what's working, what's not working, uh, you discover a lot. And I don't think there's a business that's perfect. I don't think there's a business that cannot use some level of outside or extra eyes to look into the business and how the operations are running, and so on and so forth. So that's a pretty thing. So let's talk about that. Like, so you got into this particular opportunity, and you've obviously took some time to review operations, what's going on, policies, the business, day to day, operations, and then you figured out, what's going on. Ultimately, you certainly did a good job. You were given the opportunity to lead it and to run with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the findings that you discovered, and because this approach is actually for anyone that's watching, listening right now. If you're in a business, usually in the business mode, sometimes you don't see everything because you see what you can see, and somebody from the outside can see. Now, of course, they cannot see everything because your vision is something that is you and you only know. But certainly the operation can be clear, right? Someone can say, well, you may be missing this, you may be missing that. We can do this, we can tweak this, tweak that. I mean, I see this every day. We're talking about in a different show about these things, like how some companies need a little bit of a process improvement, effectiveness optimization, and I see that in everyday's life. I mean, I can talk about anything out there, and I can probably give you a little bit of positive criticism if you want to call it that way, right? Now, judgment, there's only like room for improvement, and there's room for improvement in everything. What I do, I need for improvement here as well. So everybody needs to do that. So, but your experience, you came in, into this with a fresh eyes, kind of look, and you looked into this. What were some of the first things that you discovered that you're like, wait a minute, this got to go, this got to change? Anything that was like really like in your face up front?
Okay, so as I have mentioned, like I have been to a part of like multiple businesses, so there is a difference of the skills of the businesses. For example, when I'm going to talk about the startups, they have the issues and the problems at the different level. But when we talk about some corporates as SMEs, they have a different category of problems. Like they have a category of problems. So why I said in this way, for example, in startups, all of the businesses, like they are depend upon the a process of the sales funnel, because if the sales is going to happen, the business are going to grow. But if it's not going to happen, there is pretty less chance like they can perform for the next 5 years or 3 years, even though like there is no future for that business. Why I'm saying it, I have been like seen it with my own eyes, like the company I have joined over there when we are entered into the like development, and I take over the operations over there. So I have seen like the most important thing is the feedback of the clients
Mm.
for completion of the sales process. The feedback mechanism should be regulated back to the management. They should look into deeply into it, and then they have to strategize according to that. So you cannot like say like you are gonna like keep a fixed strategy for your employees or salespersons, or even the marketing strategy. You have to change according to the moods or the feedback that your front line like army, that is your salespersons, they're bringing back to you. If you are enough able, like you can understand that well, and you can develop a good strategy, then that means like you are doing a good job. But if you're just criticizing, like I'm having 10 salesperson and they're not performing in the market, that means you are into a challenge now. That means you are just looking on the problems, you're not looking for the solution yourself. So there you miss your like point of to be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur always look for the solutions. He doesn't look for the problems himself. He looks for the problems to solve them. So a businessman, entrepreneur, leader, a manager, he should be compiled in a one shape. He need to be trained every day for this purpose. I've listened to one of the guy, like he talks about he's actually a millionaire, and he's also one of my good friend also. So we are sitting over there, and he told me like he just go to the office for 2 hours and he do nothing except look into these issues, like what are the next steps he has to do out of the circle, so his business can improve further. Because for example, if I have to just follow up with the sales team, it can be done with another person. The follow-ups and those stuff, someone else can take care of it, right? But when we're going to really talk about like something for the growth, you need a better like vision for that. You have to change your vision every time. You have to bring some creativity in your working, because everyone is doing marketing, everyone has a sales team, a lot of competitors in the markets. New business opens in the market, they close after 2 or 3 months. Some startups, they perform better than the SMEs, and they become the even giants in the market, but a lot of them, they fail in their starting processes. So there is a lot of like things that needed to be as a entrepreneur to understand, so they can look into like their self as a like successful businessman in the future.
Well, thank you. I mean, well, you're touching on a lot of things there. One, I love the differentiation between startup versus existing businesses, right? Or like business that been in action for a minute and they already established, right? So it's kind of a little different. Yes, you're right. The startups have usually maybe less capital, maybe less staffing, maybe they're new to the market, they're still adjusting to the place, and they have to understand versus the companies that are already established, and sometimes those have different, to your point, a set of problems. Sometimes they just They have a routine and they forget, that they need to keep looking at things, right? Sometimes they just have growing pains and they don't figure out, that it's affecting them. You're right. The other part is like, feedback from their clients. Are they really, responding well to the clients and so on and so forth. So these are all, some of the things that, can be very difficult, whatever type of business you are. But of course, for those people that are just into the business, or as for the first time, or they're just looking into a business, you have to be prepared, folks. I mean, yes, everybody has a plan. We say a business plan. I mean, everybody talks, do you have a business plan? Yes, everybody has a business plan. The business plan is like, I'm going to start the business, get it done, and find
Yeah, exactly.
clients and sell and make a profit, right? That's the line, right? But that's the outline. But really, there's more. I mean, how are you going to, what's your strategy? What are your tactics? What is your staffing? What is your model? What is blah 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 blah? There's so much stuff. Location, for example, if you have a tap business that requires a location. Um, One thing that I want to ask you, Muhammad, is do you feel that some of these businesses that you at least worked with, or at least what you're observing in the larger scale, that businesses are well staffed? Are they, do they have the right talent, running the show? Because in my experience, these are two things. I mean, well staffed is one, obviously, but the correct staff, the right staff with the right, business, like the right acumen, the right development, right? So talent acquisition, and also having the right people in the right place, because sometimes someone, you said it, leader, manager, boss, whatever you want to call it, these are titles, but they don't mean the same thing. I mean, not everybody is a leader. You can be in a boss, capacity. And by the way, I call that a negative word, to be boss. Nobody's boss on no one, but we
Yeah,
refer to this. It's very common to hear boss, boss, boss. Nobody is the boss. You're a boss yourself. I mean, that's just my rule. I've always established that a long time ago when I started in the business. I always looked at the business as my business. It's me Inc. I work in a company, and the company provides the tools and the financial aid for my unit, which is me as the company. you know it sounds weird, but that's how I look at it, right? So again, it is,
exactly.
if you're watching, it is Muhammad's, is the business, right? And so whatever he works, it provides him with the tools for him to establish and do his business, whatever that job description is. So if you look at it that way, it's a little different, right? But also the capacities and the capabilities that someone has can vary. And what I've seen, in a lot of areas, I've noticed a lack of training, maybe, or lack of skills. There's definitely, I've seen quite a bit of this over the years. If the people are not really savvy enough to handle clients and
Mhm.
customers, they're gonna piss off those customers, and therefore your effect. And you said something interesting, that your
Yeah,
friend, he's got the money. But go ahead, we'll catch up on that one.
yeah. Actually, I have a point over here, like one of the interesting point. As we are talking about the issues, this is the most important, or the, you can say, like a contradicting point. People always they seek for the issues. For example, the staff is not trained. This is the problem. This is the problem. Yeah, there is a problem. You're very right, because you're not making business. Then there is a problem. Might be the tires are flat, or the tires are not over there. That's why the car is not driving. So the most important thing, like the people, for example, I'm going to talk with the startups first, so we distinguish accordingly that, okay? So for example, when we're going to talk about startups, the most important thing for them is to first of all develop a strategy, okay? What category of strategy? Again, the structural strategy, like who will do what. They have to define the roles. They have to be very clear on their like KPIs and indicators. First, you'll develop the structural strategy. Now you're clear with your vision. Now you execute it with the marketing team. So you develop some marketing, you do some pushing, you develop some leads through that, right? Then you develop a sales strategy. Like, okay, this lead is coming through this marketing strategy. Now you have to do in this way. So our vision will be directly executed on the client. You are understanding me. I will give you an example. For example, a cola, a Pepsi, if someone want to talk about it, they develop a structural thing, operational thing, like who is gonna do what, okay?
Mhm.
Then they do the marketing. These are the brands, like this is the specific client for this one, for example. They give the discounts on the new products, okay? When it enters into the market, they do specific advertisement relevant to that. Then later on, those customers, they perceive the product in the same way, and then they put the product over there and they buy it. So this is like one of the cascade of like the business development. You should be very clear on your stance. You cannot be one man army. You should be very clear on your finances. You should have a good backup plan. You should hire the right people, like as you have already mentioned, like the staffing, the right people in the right place. They can work properly. The positioning, for example, if I look myself as a salesperson, I'm good in the sales. I should be in the sales. I cannot perform well as a administrator or some operational activities. I cannot perform over there well. So
Hmm.
that's the most important thing, like the concern, the well positioning, and it can be only happen if you're good in the structural strategy. So this is the first step. Like this, this is like one of the alarming step for all the CEOs or the startup owners. They have to define it very well. Then they look into the next one. Then they look into the next one, and definitely they develop a good strategy and grow up their business. But most of the people they lack over there. When we talk about the SMEs or the companies, like they're well established in the market, the challenge is mostly the most important challenge they have comparison to the startups. Startups are having very limited funds, or you can say like the liabilities on them. Okay,
Hmm.
but they perform better. Have you seen that or not in the market?
Oh yeah. I mean, they have no choice. They got to make it work.
They have to. Yeah, they are competitive in the market. They are
Hmm.
not relaxed. They're not into their zone where they need to be relaxed. Okay, they're very competitive, but they have one of the good thing. The process of decision making is very quicker in the startups comparison to the SMEs and well established businesses.
Big time.
Yes, that's the biggest challenge that I have seen. Like in the companies, like they're bigger in the structure, they have time taking process. Like for example, if I have to give the discount to one of the client, I have to send an email. That email will get a follow up, and 15 days lost over there. But whenever we talk about a startup, he says, "Khalas, I'm covering my costing. I will give you the discount, and you will be onboarded. Khalas, no further questions over the startups." So this should be like very distinguished between the companies, like what they are actually. Yeah, we in the sales terms we says fake it until you make it, though it's unethical and unprofessional completely. Like you present something that you don't have. Some startups they present themselves as that, but they always lost over there as well. They think that they're very big, they're not gonna compromise on anything, and at the end they close up their businesses and they move in the market.
You know, it's interesting because this concept is it's not just this not new. I mean, it's always been there. Because I listen. I've worked in a lot of startups, and I've worked in established large companies like even national companies in the U.S. And obviously, the bigger the companies are, the more I would say red tape, bureaucratic stuff. Decision is more difficult to happen because you have to go through a whole set of approvals and so on and so forth. The protocols are just too mundane and just too lengthy. Just makes it a little. And on the contrast, as you said, the startups, see, there's a little bit more, I guess, fluidity. It's a lot easier to. They're malleable. They can make things. Decisions can be made quickly, and that sometimes makes a big difference in in how to get into the market, how to work with clients, how to really even make changes happen. Whether it's even working with regulatory, you still need to be able to make some quick decisions and implement. For example, in the UAE, the laws change constantly, right? If your team is really not catching up well enough, they're going to be behind the eight ball, and eventually they're going to get into a problem, right? And that's not going to be a good thing, right? So you have to be ahead of the game. But again, that goes back to what you said. The idea is that you have to have the right people running stuff. And you're right. This whole thing about fake it till you make it, right? I mean, it's an expression that we casually use, in a personal, I guess, success story, right? So I'm just making it, I'm just faking it on until I get there, right? We joke about this, but in the business world, that can be a deadly, strategy. That's gonna be fatal
No,
because
no, it depends upon the business actually. Like there are some businesses when okay, it doesn't mean like you don't have the skill set or you don't have any abilities and you're presenting something. Okay,
well,
it
that's
it
yeah,
doesn't
okay.
it doesn't relies over it. For example, if I'm saying I'm good in marketing and I don't know ABC of the marketing, doesn't make sense. That's what I was saying. But yeah, in numbers, for example, okay, I'm having like 5 clients, I can present 10. Okay, maybe some collaborations, some free collaborations over there, but I can present it better. So that actually help you to develop like your trust on the other party. So that reason for the small startups, usually the other companies they don't go with it completely, like they disagree with it You're right. Like it's a deadly point for the strategy.
Well, it's more from the compliance perspective. It can be deadly because then
Yeah.
you lose credibility, and it could be a problematic. Because people can I guess make real official complaints and so on and so forth. It becomes very dangerous game. You know, and you're right. So in sales, this is funny. I mean, I've been in sales all my life, and I've seen all kind of tactics that are used by sales agents to kind of promote they're doing good or whatever. And from we have sandbagging, which people hold business, to kind of carry on for the next month or next week or whatever because they have some backup business. That's one way. If people sometimes they continue working, but they don't show up everything that they need to have.
Yeah. You
Uh, I'm sorry. Go
you
ahead.
have actually put one of the important point. You directly landed on the same point. The salespersons, like actually the market itself, like reflects it. A lot of salesperson they are considered as professional liars. They're good in lying. Okay. They,
Well, that's true, and that's a very that's one thing I hate. I mean, to the core. And when you say you're in sales, and people look at you like, and by the way, and I agree why people actually have the reaction that they do,
Mhm.
because there's a percentage of salespeople, sales professionals. I would not call them sales professionals. They're in sales capacity, but they're not really professional. So, just to be because that's the thing.
Yeah,
They're
we
pitching.
do categorize like the salespersons also depending upon what they do. What are the category of the salesperson? There is a different categories of the salesperson. There are professional salesperson. There are professional liars salespersons as well.
Well,
So there's a lot of categories in the even in this profession as well.
Muhammad, it's funny because we have a joke. We say salespeople are the second most hated people in the planet after lawyers. This is a joke in the U.S. So I think it applies everywhere, and that's because again there's that perception that salespeople they just sell you the fluff. They just want to get their numbers. They're working for today. They're working for the goal because they have the pressure. They have the quota. They have the goal that the manager is pushing onto them. Like if you don't do this, you're gonna lose your job, right? So it creates that feel that I just need to sell something today so I can get my manager off my back. But they don't think about retention. They don't think about members and clients, quality, connection with the company and the product. And of course, when you do it weak, it's like everything else. You build in something that is not strong, so you're not going to continue with that business. A
Yeah.
lot of businesses, people will change their mind and cancel whatever service they have, for example. So those are some of the problems that we see in the sales world. So they can be very weak, but that's also not just salespeople. I mean, I think salespeople is a big chunk of it, but also from an operation side, it can happen too.
Actually,
You know,
actually, this is like one of the important point you have mentioned. Like usually like the pressure is by the operation sides, okay, on the salesperson, so they are on the deadliest point. You will do the sales or you are out of the job. So everyone like in the market, they need the survival in the market. They have to do sales, they have to do what anyway, hook or crook. They have the targets or the KPIs, they have to achieve it. So we cannot put whole of the like blame on the salesperson. Yeah, there is a problem. For example, like I know a person like he's a ACCA and also having his own business, and he's doing a lot of stuff in Oman and UK and in Dubai as well. He mentioned one of the important process like I'm very open to learn new things from the people as well. So that guy, like when once he talk about it, he says like give your salesperson the opportunity to present more. Okay, if you're limitizing them in the circle of KPIs and you're doing a follow up on over there, they're restricted. Once you make them restricted, they will do the job and they don't care about the reputation of company or anything. But when you give them a chance to do business development as well, for example, you give them a space, you relax them over there, okay, they will put the extra efforts, extra energy to improve your business. And at the end, what's the achievement? Your business is growing, right? But when we are like gonna hire someone who are the professional liars, or we are pushing them to do a lot of sales, it's actually not going to the retentions of the client. So you will get a negative publicity for that as well. Because if someone is having the bad experience in any of the business, they will also recommend other people like never ever go to this person, he's not good. So you automatically like you will get the bad reputation in the businesses as well.
that's when you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Yeah, but that's the thing. So there is a point behind that. So to your and I love what you said because sometimes we blame the salespeople, and and I've seen some salespeople that are just super aggressive, and maybe their character, the person, whatever. But you're right. If it's done correctly from the upper management, from the leadership, and like this is me. I mean, I've led sales for 30 plus years. And I mean, my first team was in 95, so that's 30 plus years,
Mhm.
right? So so just to give you one thing, that first they need to know anything about the company and everything about the company. What is the company, the products, the credibility? They have to build that stuff. They have to understand every single thing. They have to be up to date all the time. Also, one of the problems that I've always seen, and I still see it, and I don't know how it's going to change, but maybe there's always opportunity for us to do more work and helping companies to survive through change, because we can help them see these things. But here's the thing: you cannot, you every business is for profit, folks. I mean, even the not for profits, they're for profit. Okay, they just don't have dividends, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not. It's sometimes we get too greedy, like how much more we're going to bring this quarter, how much more we're going to bring, how many more customers, sales, blah 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 blah. But then you put higher goals or unachievable goals, and so what happens? These people, the market is what it is, and especially if there is competition. You talked about competition. Right now, when you eat, it's a very competitive market. So think about it this way. I mean, I see thousands of agents in at least in the real estate world. There's a lot of them everywhere, right? And so everywhere you walk, I mean, there's three, four, five, places. In my world in the U.S., for example, is insurance guys. We're everywhere. There's not a place. I joke about it. Like you cannot possibly walk during the day anywhere in the streets of New York City, and you're not going to meet an actual insurance agent, because we're at the pharmacy, we're at the supermarket, we're at the bodega, we're at the street corner, we're at the RV, we're at the park, we're at the events, we're at the beach. So you even at the movies. So that's kind of like how hard it is, right? So that's the concept. But the main thing is the goals, right? So when you set up goals, that's one. They need to be attainable, achievable. Do you want quality? Do you want quantity? Do you want these people to just throw in numbers to the wall like spaghetti and see what sticks, or you want the right ones? That's one. So you need to be exactly. Now, someone can say, "Well, Hurricane, that when you run your business, you do your numbers." I do that in my business. I get it, but this is just the idea that when you do it wrong, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have people churning, people lying, people trying to get numbers just to make the numbers and the goal for 1, 2, 3 months, as long as they can, to survive until they find another job, and they keep hopping, and then their baggage is with them too. So when they go somewhere else, that's kind of like the ammo. That's what they use as their technique, and you will have a problem too, because now you're losing your people because you bring in the wrong staff, right? So these are things that are like problematic. They have solutions, but it's a full thing. It's not just one blame to this guy to that guy, right? It's really everyone. It's a trickle effect, and it starts from the top. So we just need to be mindful. And one thing you said something very interesting about the example you gave about your friend. He comes in 2 hours, you know now that's to me, if you're the lead or the business owner, we have that saying that says, when the cat's away, the mice play. So if you're not there, handling your business 100%, I mean, there's a good chance things are not going to be running the right way. The
Yeah,
top
yeah.
people, they're there. I mean, Elon Musk is doing his thing. He doesn't sleep. He checks in on his staff. He gets into his business, right? So that's kind of like the concept. And I'm not criticizing your friend, but the idea that
Yeah.
I get it. It sometimes is that right.
Yeah, I will continue with that. It's important point. Okay, being as an entrepreneur is a journey. Okay, it's not about one business. It's not about like to think in the box. Okay, that's why I put the difference. Okay, when you put a lead over there, you put a CEO for your company. You don't need to be over there. You just have to go over there and enjoy 2 hours, look into the numbers, what's happening. Everything is in the right flow, because once, like for example, you Hurricane, like you have definitely you have trained a lot of people into the sales as well. So when you look into it, even like the next reporting, when you see it, you just need some minutes, even few minutes. You understand like what's happening. Okay, with the experience. The similar thing is like one entrepreneur, he enters into a level when the business enters into automation. He's having a CEO, he's having the executive bodies over there. They can take the decision on behalf of him. He's just over there to just look after the business. So that's a different scenario, and that's a different situation as well. He's just looking for some creative ways to expand more and more into his business. That's it. So 2 hours he work as an employee into his own business with the experience that he has gained throughout. So that means he's actually working 6 hours. Okay, it's not like 2 hours. Because of the experience, he understands the things quickly
Well,
comparatively
no,
to the others.
Well, Muhammad, thank you for that because again, to clarify, obviously I took it that this is just his way of doing it. But you're right. If obviously he has an operation, he has the people that are running the business, and he's there to check in on them to make sure that they're happening. And there is a CEO, someone who's actually presiding on the business activities, that's a little different. I mean, there's a lot of business owners that don't even exist, and they have companies. I mean, a lot of the companies are owned by the shareholders. Then there's no, and the board is running the show, right? So that's one thing. So that's different. But you're right. If they have that ability, that's different. I was more referring to the people that they just have a business, but they're just not there. They're absentee. We have those in leadership, roles where they're there but they're not there. Like the staff is there, but no one is running the show. The leader is sleeping or is at the beach while everybody else is hustling, but there's no direction, there is no guidance, there's no leadership. And so that's a big difference. So that's what I was referring to.
Exactly.
So
I will take your conversation further from here. Like, one of the guy I know, again, I'm in the community like where there is a lot of businessmen over there. I am having a story for this as well. There's one guy like he's very rich and he's European. Okay, he has two businesses in Dubai market, and he put someone on his PO off, and he thought like everything is going perfectly fine. Okay, he's the business owner, and suddenly due to some situation, previous situations over here, like the businesses they enter into a struggle phase. If
mhm.
they're not having the right hiring or they're not positioned well in the market, they enters into the struggle. But those business who are actually with the good idea or who are with the good operations and everything, they again perform in the market. They're not never ever like they enter into such situation, they're not working. So this guy like he put someone over there. Okay, but he as a founder, he also like give information about like the financial issues that he's facing to the next team as well, like being so trustworthy and like that. And you know what happened? That business enters into the real struggle in the market. The people they start leaving the company because they find the reality. Okay, when you miss the right train stop from your train, for example, those people who are with you for the years and they just suddenly leave, and you're gonna onboard some new, you again enter into a training process. So that business that is with the experienced people, when the experienced people leave from the company, they find like they smelled out there is a problem. They moved from the company, they hired some new staff, they do hiring, and now the business are collapsed. Both of the business are closed now. So this is a
Wow.
situation. This is an alarming situation. You are right on that point. Like if no one is really gonna take care of it, the cats and the dogs play in the streets. That's the point.
Well, but there's also a trust factor, right? So if I hire someone to and entrust them with the business, right? I mean, I have to be so sure that this person is, first of all, they're not gonna play games and then cover their butt because they don't want to tell me that something's going on until it's too late. Because that's what happens. People are afraid to lose the job, whatever the income, and they may just do everything to give you the wrong information, the wrong reports, and it takes time for you to catch, especially if you're not hands on. That's the thing, hands on and completely off. I mean, and both strategies work. It depends. I mean, it's not micromanaging, but if you're the owner, it's your business, it's your money, it's your sweat, that you earned over the years that you put into the business. You want to make sure that whoever is running this is capable and able, right? And but to your point, if something is off, and now you start seeing a trend of people leaving the company, I mean, there's a reason for that. I mean, there's smoke, there's fire somewhere. So people are leaving. There's a reason. Whether it's competition is paying. That's the other thing. You have to stay competitive. What's going on in my market? Are there companies that
Exactly.
are coming? This is something I've dealt with for years. I mean, in the insurance space, we had 40, 50 plans at a certain time in one area. I mean, too many health plans working on the same turf, right? And too many agents, too many people working. But you always have to, like, well, what is the other plan paying? What's the commission structure? What's the salary range? What's the benefits? What's their network? What's blah blah blah. So you look at every single thing that makes those positions attractive, and make sure that people stay with you. They don't. Also, the quality of the leadership, it makes a difference. I mean, I look at another company, I know who's running the show. Maybe they have a bad reputation. I may not want to go there. This is a part of, like, when people interview for jobs.
Exactly.
Most people.
Exactly.
Go ahead. I know you want to
Yeah,
interject, so go ahead.
you're 100% right on this point. Like like you put the important points, like the positioning of the people, and also like when someone is leaving the company, that means there is a fire in the house. Okay, you have to solve that problem. Okay, if someone is not figuring it out, definitely they enter into a like lot of problems in the future. even like those problems that are actually arose because of the first problem. Okay, the second thing is always like we have to keep our strategy moving.
Mm.
As you have mentioned, like even you have mentioned like a decade ago, you are having 40 plans for one company. It's impressive, by the way. So you have all of the rightful information, like if this is not going to happen, I will do this. If this is not going to happen, I will do this. Okay, you have plan A, B, C, D. So at least you have something to execute. But if you're not prepared and you open up a business in the market, or you're running a business on plan A and it performed well, and you didn't look for the future. War, for example, war will come. What will happen if there is any famine is gonna come, or some again pandemic is gonna come? What will you do? What your business will do at that moment? What strategy you're gonna do at that moment? People didn't look for those situations, like they don't prepare themselves for the worst scenarios. They just prepare for the good scenarios, and if they perform in the market, they stay happy, and this is the best strategy in the world. And they perform with the same strategy in the worst scenarios. Can you imagine? And that's why a lot of businesses, they're just like struggling a lot.
Muhammad, you touched on the idea of adaptation and innovation, right? So you need to be again malleable, very flexible in everything, and your vision cannot be limited to, okay, I'm having a great year now, so that's beautiful. Well, the year is going to end. What's the next year is going to look like, right? And so you have to be ahead of the game. It's this is we refer to chess game, right? The chess, board. It's a tactical game. We use it for. It's like a war strategy. It's also a business strategy. How many moves ahead you want to think, to make sure that you're always in advance. Like, competition is in one, policy can be another one. The environment can be one. Depends on your industry, right? Is it going to have an impact on my clients, type of clients? I mean, for example, you're in real estate right now in UAE. It's a market that a lot of people are looking into because it's one of the biggest markets or industries rather, right? But it has been some impact to it. I mean, it's working, they're making it happen, people are doing what they have to do. But no one could have perceived that these events would have happened in this area, right? So but it did. So the businesses that were pre-planned, to your point, they have a strategy, they have a plan B, C, and D. I mean, you have to have multiple contingencies and not just rely on, like, okay, we're doing good, that's cool, we got this, or we're cornering the market, we have this. You're only as good as today, and your strategy. And then you have to be good for the next year and the year after and so on. So how long, especially if you're not in it just for the quick run. If you want to, for example, I worked in Disney. I mean, one of the largest companies of hospitality in the world, and thousands of employees. Years, I mean, decades of business, right? And one thing about them is they're constantly changing. I mean, everything is changing, constantly improving, and they're looking and they're adapting new technologies and getting ahead of everybody. Whenever there's an innovation, there's probably them. You look up to them. That's the thing. But every business can think the same way. You don't have to think, oh, I'm just a little guy. I'm not going to be that way. We can do that, folks. You have a vision. Just make that vision as big as stuff. There's nothing that can stop your vision, and then start slowly building there, and then try to get the right people. And you know what? If people are not buying the vision, they shouldn't be with you on that same bus or that same train, that same plane. You just got to find another crew, another team. But that's important. Now, so these are some of the things that when you joined the companies, you kind of looked at these things, and somehow you did a good job because you became running the show there, and you made it work. But it's anything else that you discovered that needed some adjustment, and or maybe like completely change, because sometimes you don't need to adjust, you need to change. I mean, the whole thing,
Yeah.
it's just not working.
Yeah, for example, I will mention you like my experience. Like I have readily mentioned to you, when I was operation manager in a company. Okay, when I entered into the company, they have the staffing over there. There are some loopholes over there, and I was also like the not only the operation manager, but I was also the sales director for them. Okay, so I have to look for everything. So instead of just entering into a leadership role or like that, I just stayed over there, observed everything. I looked for the loopholes, and over there, like I have done a lot of amendments when I joined that company. The reason why I have to change a lot of stuff, because the when you don't have the structured strategy, the first one, you don't have proper like you can say processing or the working of the people that you're having in your team, and they're in their lazy circle at that moment, like they are not able to perform. Even like if you put the stress or pressure, they are going to rebel on you because they are in their comfort zone right now. Okay, so Those people are in the comfort zone, and the company that I have joined at that moment was into losses readily. Like it is having a lot of problem. The people are leaving the company as well. So first of all, that I have done, I gather the team, I bring in over there, and I analyze like who are the actually the problem creator over there, who are the more lazier persons. Okay, I try to bring them on board with me to be familiar as a friend or like that, because they smelled it out. I'm gonna like do something for them, and some of them they improved. They started to perform. They just break their hibernation periods. They jump out of the land and they started to perform. Those who don't want to like jump out, they want to stay over there and they're just rebellious. I smelled it. Okay, khalas, they're done. I directly like put over there and put in them. There is a procedure to give them a chance
Right.
or get them out of the team. So I have done the procedure for them. So few of them again they perform, but a lot of them they're unable to perform, and we need to replace them. It's the same thing we started from the conversation. Like the tires, if they're flat, you can refill them, right? But if they are burst, you cannot refill them. You just have to replace the tires. That's it. So the burst tires are actually liability on the company. You cannot keep them for a longer journey because they're gonna impact you, and they actually impact you very badly because they also impact the other tires over there.
Oh, that's wildfire. If you have, and that's actually in the corporate world in general, business. I mean, if there is a bad apple, it could rotten everything else that's near it, and that stuff is contagious. I mean, it's really bad. When you have negativity or someone that's completely like seeing everything negative, it starts building that little, almost to your point. You used the word rebellion. I mean, people start just being rebellious. They don't care anymore, and because now and especially when you have a new sheriff in town, that's usually something that happens when you have a new leader. People start, they try to test that leader to see like what's going on, and most of the leaders, they do exactly what you just did. They come in. That's what I would do. I'll come in, I assess who are my players, A players, B players, C players, and see like where the problem, then give them a shot at making to that A level, by giving them. I obviously, so for me, for example, I use a rule. I don't judge based on what I'm told. I mean, you can give me other reports for the last year of all the
Yeah,
people that are on the team. I want to look at them and say, okay, well, there's some potential here, not potential. But now I look at it as, well, what is missing? Why these people are performing now? And then I gotta shadow them, spend some time with them, and figure out stuff. Now, of course, some people lie. They try to blame everybody but themselves. There's no accountability. You can read through that quickly, but then you adjust quickly, and then you know who are the real players or just the liars or the fakers, right?
exactly,
They're just
exactly. And for me, why it become very easier like to understand the whole of the stuff, because they have a good structural strategy. Like they have everything, the KPIs, anything like from the monitoring or the feedback, they have the best one. So from there, like I was able to like analyze the whole of the structure, like what's happening over there, what people are doing. To analyze someone, you need some information, right? So you cannot experience again 3 months, 4 months with them, and again your energy is lower and you don't know anything. You will be lost along with the like those black sheeps. So for me, the most important thing, like if I'm joining any of the company, I look into their structural chain, like what how the commands are processing over there. If they don't have, we have to develop that one first, then we can look into the next strategies. We can look into definitely the marketing, as I mentioned you, one of the like engine for any of the company or business. Then the fuel for the company, definitely the sales team, the sales strategy is the last one. But the structure, or the you can say the blueprints for the company, is always relied on the structural policies, what you develop as a chairman or the company owner or a founder or an entrepreneur, what you have developed as a structure, who will be doing what. It should be very clearly defined. Like you cannot take the like a job of an admin from a salesperson, or an accountant from an admin, because if someone is not experienced over there, they will definitely do some mistakes, and to handle with those mistakes is not possible. They will try to hide the mistakes, and you will never ever find the mistakes, by the way. They're good over there.
Well, that's an excellent point you're making, because that's something I've used, and it's for people that are running business or departments. You got to look at your players and all your whatever. It depends how big your division is. Sometimes you have different departments. in my case, that's what I do. I look at, maybe this person is a great person, with people and stuff, but they're just not salesy, right? And they were put in the role because that's the way they were able to enter the company. But now they may not be good at sales, but now they can be at retention, at customer service. They can be in, other events
Yeah,
management. And I moved them to a different department. And guess what? They flourish. We don't lose anyone. They already believe in the company. Now they trust you better. They actually will deliver better to the company because you saved their job and you saved their life because now they can make a living, and they do exactly what they're good at. And that's the thing. But that's the thing. Talent acquisition and talent management and talent assignment is not easy, right? You have to understand. And there's all kinds of stuff. There's personalities, there's stuff. And I have to say, I mean, one thing I noticed that is, for example, in the UA different from the US is just the quick turnaround on people. I mean, people are coming in here for year 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So people move quickly than the average. Like in the US, people they just live there. I mean, they just stay there. I mean, they find a job, they can stay in a job 30 years. You know, but when you have a lot
yeah,
of people that are moving in and out, it's a constant challenge to bring people, train people, guide people, and so on. So you have to have what you said earlier. You have to have the right systems, the right structures up front, and be able to deliver all that to everyone. And you cannot keep changing stuff. You do have to adapt as needed, but you have to have the core stuff that is solid. That's like your foundation. Nothing changes, and it makes a big difference. But if you're not, and one thing that I noticed personally as a client or maybe as a customer, that you go to the same place. I talk to three people. I get three different pieces of information. So to me, what it says that they're not all trained equally. They're not all getting the same information, or they just don't know because they weren't told about something or a process. Somebody did not, because maybe the expert is gone and now the person that took over may not know as much. So that's a challenge that can be actually that I can see in a corporation, and that's something to be aware of and look into it, because that can be, for me, that's a turnoff. Like if I talk to you as an agent, and then for example, you told me something earlier about the QR code when we talked about
yeah.
the real estate, right? So we had a scenario. We went to an agency. My wife did a reel about them, and they didn't know that there's a requirement for a QR. So I mean, not the developer, but the agency that hired her, did not have that knowledge. Well, at least the person did not know. I'm not gonna blame the agency, but someone did not know, and so they just say, okay, we can do this. Like, no, we can't do that. There's something called compliance. And so my thing, that for me, that example says very simple, that the person did not know about the policy because they either knew or someone failed to tell them that is a priority number one. You don't do anything unless you make sure that you are compliant. Otherwise, you and that your client are going to have a problem, right? Financial problems, because
Exactly.
and then your license can be at stake. So those are some of the things, and that's a simple mistake that can be very difficult for someone to absorb. I mean, imagine you're the leader of the company and you get a fine because a third party told a fourth party, to do something, and none of them knew what they needed to do, and then now everybody is to blame. It doesn't matter. Policy is a policy. You can say I didn't
Policies
know
are
what,
policy then.
but
Yeah,
that,
policies are
but
policies. Like, sorry,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt.
no, no, no. But so you've been here in the market long. So what do you say to this effect? I mean, is that something you've experienced? I've seen it. I mean, I've experienced it a couple of times.
Yeah,
Where what is your take on it?
I have experienced this a lot of time. Like honestly speaking, the most important thing. Okay, when I started into the business, I will also give you then that option as well. Like one of the guy, he's a business owner in Pakistan, and he's running like multiple showrooms for the cars, and he's like having franchises and like that. He's also an industrialist, so he's an educated guy. And when I talk with him, like, what is the best thing or best advice you want to give to me? Okay, he says, if you want to start a business, understand the compliance first.
Yes, music to my ears.
So the most important thing, like for any of the business, you have to understand the compliance for that business. For example, if you're looking into the trading, marketing, real estate, what are the compliance for that? Is there is any regulatory body, what they do, and what are the rules and policy? How you can present your content over there? It's very mandatory. As you readily like mentioned the problem, like you have faced like from a real estate agency, there is a lack of information, and I have seen this a lot of time in the market. Like people, they don't have information, but as the market is very quick, they want to process quick. Okay, if you're processing everything quickly, no, it's not the right way, because for example, the compliance you missed over there, you get the fines. So you also have to like look over there. If, for example, I'm in Dubai and I'm a salesperson, as you have readily mentioned when we were talking about fake it until you make it. For example, it's just a phrase. It's actually not executable, but it gives you a hope. That's the point for this one. Okay, but for example, if I will say I'm a marketing specialist, I don't have a need to great knowledge about it, or I don't have any information about it. How can be a marketing specialist over there? No, not possible even. And I've become a liar. So the positive image is not developed, but I got gathered a more and more negative image about my personality. For example, once you met with me, okay, I introduce you myself. I'm this, and you remember it till today. I was just wondering on your memory, by the way. So you remember that from that day to today, right? That's why we are here. If you have a bad experience with me, you also remember the same way, right?
Oh, we won't be talking right now.
Yeah, but the most important thing, the positive marketing. For example, I have to give a referral. Yeah, someone will give the referral about me. For example, Qasim is a good marketing agent in the industry, or a real estate agent in the industry. It's not going to happen quickly. But if someone have to say negative, it will go so quickly amongst your shareholders or the clients in the markets.
That is thank you. That's a great point, and that is something again that people listen. Over the years I've seen some. So let's talk compliance because that's one of my favorite discussions, right?
Yeah.
There's a rule, very simple, and in any compliance, I mean, every business and industry in the world, there's laws, right? There are laws that are in play. Like I come from a regulated, I mean, I've done real estate actually for more than 20 plus years in the U.S. And
Mhm.
I used to have a real estate school, and I used to teach the real law, like so the like RERA here in the UAE, similar, so New York State law. So we teach that the courses that actually that make agents, licensed and brokers, and so obviously you understand the market from the regulatory piece, right? And so the do's and the don'ts. But that's the thing, when all your don'ts, like this is what the no-nos, you cannot, that's the red line, you cannot cross. Okay, those are the ones that, like, even like in training, or when we do our sessions with our teams, we have actually a form that we've created years ago. It says do's and don'ts, and that's actually a playbook. Do's and don'ts. Basically, you have everything that is, like, in a nutshell. This is what you can do. This is what you cannot do. This is what you can say. This is what you cannot say. That's a cheat sheet that you carry. So if you're watching and listening, you don't have this tool, create one. It will make your life a lot easier, folks, for compliance purposes. Your team needs to have that. So even if you're not clear about here, pull it out. It's okay to have a laminated version, or in your phone now with technology, and just look it up. Can I say this? Can I say? And then, of course, get practice of it. It makes a big difference from a strategy, leadership to the field team. Everybody needs to be that. So that's because you have voice problems. And I love what you said, because if you do the right thing, your name, your company, your brand, your everything is going to be positive. If you do one wrong thing, it's over. You're dead, and your company's dead. Like, sometimes bad apples can actually literally hurt companies. And we've seen this happen over the years, over industries around the world. All it takes is one unit, one person to do bad. Listen, I've how many times I've had agents that did bad things, and we had to actually go to compliance and report them to the government because they lose their license. And that's the thing. It's simple. You don't do it by the book. Everybody gets a full training. As a matter of fact, for example, in our industry, you get not only your license that you renew, and you do your ethics every year and so on and so forth, every 2 years, and then you have to also do your annual certifications. I mean, those annual, you talk about marketing guidelines, rules, engagement, policies, fraud, waste, and abuse, all the things. And by the way, these things are not just for the insurance space and healthcare. They can apply to anything else, because those are things that we hear scams, fraud, waste, and abuse can be part of, in the scam world, right? So these are things that are important to actually, have, a real focus on. And if you give the guidance properly to, and it starts from the top. I mean, imagine I'm the head of the department, and I'm myself corrupt, or I don't know my policies. That's a problem. It starts from the top, right? So everybody, and I have to make, like, for example, that's a tactic I use for many years. Every new hire, and by the way, I'm sharing with you, so this is something that you can apply as well. Every person I've hired, when they get, through the training, which is the formal training, they get prepared for a presentation to the leadership and compliance. So actually, before you get certified to actually operate in the field, you got to present to the compliance officers and the senior management, the product. So we hear you, We have a whole plan. Like you have to do it like from A to Z, fully compliant before you get okay and you get to go out. And we document that. We signed it. We approved you. So everybody from the compliance to the leadership of the department to the training department or like a learning and development, we all certify that this person is ready to go. And so now they're in the
Exactly.
field. Now, if compliance, or if there's a problem, well, guess what? That guy or that gal is their problem because we did our due diligence. Now it's easy for us to say, okay, you broke the rule, you're out of here, and now your license does stick. So you set up the strategies or the processes in place to make sure that you don't miss with that stuff because that's one area. So the example I gave you, it's like 3, 4 agents later because it's so you have the company, they don't win the campaign, they hire an agency, the agency hires a third party, the third party is talking to influencers, right? And so between this level 1, level 3 and 4, there is a disconnect in like, hey, make sure that your staff make sure that they have the QR, make sure that they actually do this correctly because we do not want to, if that is not disseminated low to the other team or to the other parties, it's a problem. That should be stipulated in an agreement. So make sure everybody gets this. That should be the first one. I mean, before anything else, before we look at the business, are we going to do with complaint? So this is just a little bit of my vent about this, but because this is a big topic, and I love it. I mean, you and I, immediately we talked about this when we first started, before we
Yeah.
even started this show, and that just shows the level, and I appreciate that. And again, we met. I trust you. I know who you are and what you're capable of, and the quality that you bring to the table. But we see a lot of stuff, and sometimes those are the people that give me, give all the people that do the business that we the work we do a bad reputation because those are the people that people they don't look at the good guys. People like to judge based on one example. Oh, these people are all the same. All these salespeople are the same. Blow. That's a problem. And by the way, this goes not just for sales. Sales are just the ones that actually more, I guess, in the face because we're always out there. But
They're
there's
the front line. Yeah.
we're prominent. But people are in other departments. It's similar. If you're not doing a good job in IT, you're not doing a good job in compliance. The systems, HR. Any other division. Operations is huge, right? Anything can be wrong at any given place, right? And everybody should have the same. Like for example, another rule that I have: our training gets disseminated to every department. So everybody knows what our training looks like. They get a shorter version of it so everybody knows. So they cannot say, and the departments that actually handle customers, like customer service, retention, and some other departments, they have the same training. They actually attend the same training. So they're not saying, oh, we don't know this. We're speaking the same language, folks. So it doesn't matter what level
Exactly.
you're in, everybody is on the
Exactly.
same frequency.
And these are the like some baselines are the foundation, like you can say, like when we talk about a business or developing an empire, you have to develop it on the strong foundation for that. So this is like one of the important like key criterion any of the business should have to follow. And you have mentioned it very rightfully actually, like all of those people like who are gonna be onboarded for the company, they need to be gone through certain process of trainings. Once they are
Mhm.
done with the trainings, they know about the compliance, they know about everything. Now they are prepared as your prepared army, for example, the sales force that is going to go outside and they can present your company in a good way, in a prestigious way. Even they can offer the premium services that are not actually present in the market. So there is always a difference between like when I'm going to talk about the skilled and unskilled, there is always a difference. The skilled one are always better than the unskilled people.
Well,
So,
listen, it is that's a rule, and that goes everything. I mean, I don't care what business you're in, a startup, existing, a new person. Your skills are everything, right? But skills can be taught, and so that's the whole thing. And by the way,
yeah,
to your point, the idea is not so much to train everybody to be a salesperson. We don't train them sales techniques and
yeah, yeah.
skills. We teach about what it is, the information that is being shared by the salespeople, so everybody is have the same language. Also, understand something. Sometimes the departments don't understand what the other departments go through. So for example, I used to do something called shadowing. So we take actually people from senior staff to actually to the other departments, and they get to spend a time in the field with a salesperson, for example. So now they can see what a day in the sales, person's shoes looks like. Now what happens? They appreciate that better. They understand what goes in the field, so they can actually respond better if they have a claim, they have a problem. They understand what's going on from there. So everybody is seeing the same visual. Even the CEO of the company comes out in the field and understands what's going on. That's a big deal. If you don't have that, then you have, I can say everything. You can complain all the time, but the other guys did. What the hell are you talking about? I have no idea. That's not what I'm hearing. But if they go themselves and spend 1 hour, ooh, wow. I mean, I give a good example back in the days. Like you'd be in the street and people curse you up. Like, yeah, get the F, that's the other on the street, right? I mean, like in New York, I mean, in the US, it's not going to happen, but in the US, we have that. It's very common. So you have that. Now you bring in someone from the inside the office that's sitting in front of the computer all the time, just on the phone, behind the computer, and you put them into that environment. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you guys deal with this? Oh yes, we do. Now you see how our life is not as simple as you think, but it's a give and take. But by bringing everybody to the same, but even adding some KPIs to those people, and that are related to the teams, things change. There's a feel for everybody, so everybody works as a unit, as a team. They see the same vision, the same goal, and they understand everybody's role. So it makes a big difference.
Exactly, exactly. I completely agree with you. Like you have mentioned two of the important points actually. The first one is definitely like to see as a vision. Like if the vision that the CEO or the founder of a company is bringing, is it really delivered to the those who are under that guy or the under the management and then to the salesperson as well. This is one of the like important point. For example, I think about an idea. My idea is differently think. I develop the strategy according to that. But if someone is selling in a different way, it's not executable. We're not gonna have a good word of the mouth in the market. The second thing you readily mentioned about like it's very important for all of the operation teams or those who set the KPI or stuff like that. They have to understand what other people are going through. For example, you mentioned yourself, like if a guy goes into the sales, I have done this by the way, my own self when I was operation manager. I told you there are certain criteria I have done over there. So for example, I have gone to for a meetings like as operation manager along with the people, and I have gone with them. I stayed outside. I've during the summers, I enjoyed the summers with them. I even go with them for a lunch and like that, so they will feel like there is a bond between them and me. It's very important. And not only the bond, but you will also experience like what they go through and you can set the KPIs according to that. For example, if we're talking about you will set 10 meetings in a day, okay, we can put as a KPI 10 meetings, but it is possible in Dubai. If a person is, for example, going through a traffic, a lot of issues, not possible. Two meetings, five meetings, somehow sounds interesting. But 10 meetings, not possible by any chance. So that's how you can even evaluate like your own strategy, your own way, how you put the executions. That's why like a lot of people, like as we have readily discussed, like when we talk about USA, the people over there they work like as a home. And when we talk about the other countries, they work completely differently. When we talk about UA market, 2 years they're in one company, maybe 5 6 months they're in one company, they can switch to the other one. They look for the better because of the stress, because of the like culture over there, the energy that people bring to the company that is drained out because of the stress. And when someone is drained out of the energy, they start to think about themselves. And once they start to think about themselves, they will move away. So that's actually the point, like from where they jump from one company to another.
Well, that's a huge thing. And again, listen, one of the main things is retention. Now, you want a company to grow. You want to see the people within the company growing with it. And that's why I said earlier, if we all take it as this is our part, I mean, I don't want to feel that I'm just an employee. I want to feel that I'm part of the company's growth. So I'm growing with it. So the company grows. Yes, the ownership makes profits, but I can see a little benefit. My salary grows with me. My title grows. There is room for growth and improvement. And so now I buy this. I mean, this is good for me. I'm going to build. But to your point, if I'm not seeing that, I'm just going to go find the next opportunity that's going to make me more money. And that's the thing. Some people are when I mentioned the difference is that because people are here maybe temporary, I'm just here for 2 years. I just want to make X amount of money. I want to leave to my country. That can change the dynamics. In the US, you're not doing that. You're just living to pay your bills and mortgage and house, and just you want to have a stability. You want to have kids and stuff. So maybe that's the difference. There's also the difference between I would say energies or maybe just cultures. People are coming from parts of the world. So everybody's trained differently. Yeah, I'm coming from one part of the world. You come from one part of the world. The other, and sometimes the training that you receive, the training I received, the training that this person may not be stuff. But the company should actually almost make that all go away by putting one culture in there, so everybody gets to be aligned equally. Doesn't matter what we see, how we different we are, but in operations we're all the same. See, once that is established correctly, then you have a better synergy between the team. And again, that's the thing. The theme of team comes back again in the discussion. Team is everything. Doesn't matter in business. There's no me, you, I. There's no I in team, as we say, right? So it's all about, it's all of us. We make it happen. I
Yeah,
mean, we say, the what do you call that? The expression, team. The team makes the dream work. I mean, something like that. I forgot the
yeah,
expression. Now it's not coming up. But you know what I'm saying? It's those things. But it starts again with the vision, with the bringing that vision to everybody, and everybody buys it. So
exactly,
what else?
exactly. And
I know we
I,
exceed the hour, but we're having fun. So
yeah, actually, there is also one of the important point that I want to put over there. Like when we talk about the structures and we talk about the team and the diverse culture over here, this is actually one of the beauty of UA market that you can greet and meet all of the people in the same office. So there's a difference, but the most important thing that they need to understand, like there is equality and equity. Okay,
mm,
depending upon the cultures, depending upon the structure, depending upon the language groups. For example, there are a lot of people like they only speak French and Arabic over here. There's a lot of people who speak Hindi, Urdu. For example, I can speak Hindi, Urdu, English, a little bit of the Arabic as well. Okay, so there is a difference. We just need to adapt with the environment as well. We need to adopt ourselves with the like multicultural environment. It will be like one of the important factor that will help you to grow as well as a professional person. But you're very right, like when we talk about the USA, there are the people, they have the longer plans over there, but when we talk about UAE, there are some people actually they have shorter plans, but there is a lot of people who came with the long hopes. Those who don't have the accessibility to USA market, they comes to and lands in the UAE market. Some people they land in this UAE market because it's very near to their home countries. So there is a lot of like points like this. But if we really make a good working culture for them, they will love to be over here because their countries is just 1.5 or 2 hours flight from there. So they don't want to stay over there. For example, I'm gonna mention you one of my journey. Okay, when I was child and I used to study in Islamabad. I'm from Punjab. Okay, I have to drive 125 kilometers back to my hometown. Okay, 125 kilometers, it takes 2.5 hours. Just imagine it is the same time it takes from here to reach my home in Islamabad
in a flight.
by flight. Yeah. So it doesn't like it's not a big difference. Okay. For me, the traveling is same. But the most important thing is again the culture. If you're providing the good culture, the people they feel like a family. They will have a bond. This is what I was mentioning to you. It's very important to keep a bond to keep the people retained with you. Definitely, the positioning and the right people you need in your team, you have to structure like that. But once you have selected those people, you find the good people, you train them, and now you have to retain them. And they can be only with you by the bond. And the bond is developed with the trust. It's not with the money. Some people they work for little amount of money comparison to the others.
Well, thank you for bringing that. I mean, it's amazing because you're right. I mean, the UAE, especially in Dubai. I mean, I think the whole UAE. There's the opportunities here, and there's definitely growth opportunities, success stories we have heard of many. Uh, and but it's just that because people come in, to just make money and go back to their home countries, and typically that's what happens. In the U.S., you don't see a lot of that. People come in to stay; they want to stay there. They just want to. I mean, the whole fight with the immigration right now in the U.S. is that people want to come in to stay there, not to leave, right? So it kind of changes dynamics, but it shouldn't be any different because when you come and you're actually doing a good job, you're going to do good. If you're doing good, you're going to do more good. And so, therefore, now your journey that you planned for 2 years becomes 5 years. You're a good case. You came in for a year or two, and then you wind up here longer, right? So it's that kind of concept. It's something that happens that you see the value and you work to it. And the multicultural thing is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing because you get to learn cultures, you get to stuff to learn from other people because you have stuff that I don't know. You're going to teach me a few things that I may apply in my life, right? And so on and so forth. The language skills, yes, I mean sometimes they can be, a challenge, but you know what? Today we have AI, we have translators. I mean, you can even use that as and make it an easier task for you if you want to do stuff. So there's ways to actually operate and adapt quickly and make it work. But we just have to make sure, like in again, whatever company The purpose should not be like, let's just bring people because we can bring people in and let just, get whatever we can and let them be. No, we bring people so we can make them feel better about themselves and grow themselves. While they grow, the company grows. Like, this is something I used when I was, early days in my career, right? There's always that feeling that, like, you, like, I had I used to ask this question in interviews, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Now, someone here may not ask this question because 5 years is a long term, but in the US, to me, I would ask that question. Why? Not because I want to know where they're going to be in 5 years, but I want them to tell me that they want to be in my seat. I want them to actually challenge to get my position. Manager, director, VP, CMO. I want them to tell me I want to be in your. And you know how many people actually have said that? Many. And the reason I asked this particular question, and maybe it's an antiquated question, some people can say, to me, it just gives me the vibe that I want this person on my team. I want that person that really wants my seat and my stuff. I'm not afraid of them. They're not my competition. I want them because if they have that, because that's how I was when I was younger and I needed to actually get in a position. I wanted to actually be the director. And not because I want to kick the director. If I grow and I do my job, the company grows, the director becomes the VP. I take the spot. You see? So
Yeah.
the logic is not so much a competition. The logic is growth. And I see myself into the next phase and next phase until I make it to the highest level I can get. And when you have that and you create that culture, everybody wants to be in. I mean, I want to be in your team. I don't want to be in another team because this is the team I want to stay with. I want to make sure I grow because you're setting up the growth factor for all of us and line up. And here's the thing: a company grows, company branches out. Now we have some, another country open. Now we have other opportunities in other places. That's the thing. So we look at it from this angle. You're part of the growth. You're not part of just like I'm just here getting my job done and move. And so when you have that, and by the way, even in the US, if someone has that mentality, I've seen people who have started a job, they stayed in the same job for years. They didn't even grow in their position. They didn't care. You know what I mean? So some people that just they have the comfort, they just want that, and I just come in, do my bit, and go home. That's okay too. There's nothing wrong. But the idea in some roles, you want to see that. And by the way, those are some also, I would say, indicators that will show you someone who has some leadership, talent or opportunity. Sometimes you can see, someone has that drive. They can be potentially molded into a leader if they have other skills, of course, and other, things that show up in their career path. But those are the things. But again, the diversity of cultures, the diversity of opportunity, those are things that are pluses, not minuses. It's just that whoever is running has to look at it from that angle, not just like, okay, let's just turn people because I can get 10 people today. Come on, agencies are lined up. I can just call. They're going to send me people, but you're not doing anything. You're not building business. When you're talking to clients like to have continuous connection. I want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to somebody else. Where's my agent? Where's my guy? Where's my the director I work with all the time? Relationships, right? You talked earlier
Exactly.
about doing bad things. These are things that we need to be mindful of.
Exactly. Completely agree with it because you have put actually one of the important point over there as well. While staffing or positioning your staff, you have to understand like how they are motivated to be the part of your team. For example, like if I explain you about my company and the concept, and you understand it, and you like it, definitely it's gonna be happen the next. Okay, that's why the guy who said like I want to be the CEO of the company, the reason why he said it because he understood your concept. Okay, there's a lot of like information that is hidden behind the question that actually you ask. It's one of the like important question during the hiring of the staff as well. But you are very right on the other points as well. Like when we're going to talk about the staffing and the positioning, we need to do it in a proper way. And definitely, like when the company is going to grow, it's going to grow on the bigger level, and the CEO becomes the group CEO, and the salesperson maybe the sales director or the CEO of the company. Who knows the next? So it depends upon the performances. But yeah, the retention and the culture of the people. For example, if someone likes to talk with me, they will always like to talk with me. Even this do happen like sometime our coordinators and the CSR team, like they coordinate with the people, they mention about my name. This is like this is this calling from this company, for example, they mention about themselves. Later on the person says, oh, I don't know which company you're talking about, what you're talking about, then this is my name. So sometimes I'm the representation for the company. So it depends upon like how you deal with the people, and the retention is one of the key. For example, I'm contacting a lot of people from like for different services for my own company and my own stuff like that. When I try to read them out and I find it out he's not over there, I stop working with that company. So that's also one of the important point. If you want to retain your clients, you need to retain your agents over there, you need to retain your people over there. So it's important.
You know, I'm listening to you, and there's something that just came up because it's interesting. Because here's the other thing, you know, I love what you said. People want to talk to you. So even when you go to the higher ranking, so you're a VP, you're chief, you know, you're a higher director level and up, right? I've always had people call me, customers still call me. They still call me, and so just I can't say, "Oh, I'm the VP now. I'm the chief. I'm not going to spoke to you. I'm not going to speak to you." You know, no. I'll pick up the phone. I'm still a representative. Like I would be in the field with the team, and I meet an actual customer, and they talk to me. I don't say, oh, "Well, I'm the VP. I'm just running the show here." No, I'm just like a representative of the company, just like everybody else. I'm dressed exactly like them. I'm talking, exactly with the people. I engage them, and if they're ready to do the enrollment or solutions, whatever problems they have to solve, I'll have someone actually do the work, because they have the computer and stuff. But I am still the same person, it's just at a higher rank. You know, it's that's the simplicity to it. So sometimes what I notice, some people get that hierarchy level and the ranking, and they forget that they actually are part of. They can talk to a regular person. That they're not reachable. Open door policy, folks. You have to be. Doesn't matter what level. Actually, the higher you are, the more humble you should be, and basically you earn the rank. That's great. But for a customer, they don't care who you are. They're still looking at you as an employee of that company, and you better speak to them just like another employee. If you want success, now if you pull that like I'm the guy, I'm the gal, I'm in charge, and blah blah blah, you know, unless you're gonna do something for them that's gonna make them happy, they don't care about that title. But they do care about that title. If you tell someone I'm in charge, well then I want this problem fixed. That means you're the man who can fix this. Let's fix the problem. So again, it's a concept. But I love what you said. You never change. The customer is always first. Okay, and it's, even sometimes they're wrong. There's a way to deal with that. But we don't, like, we have that say customer's always right. Customer is king, whatever, or queen. The fact is, you know there is a level how to talk to clients and customers. There's a level to follow up with them. You touch base with people. It's okay. Like, I've established so many checkpoints with customers, at different levels, from the first day to the year, 5 years, anniversary, and so on and so forth. There are people, actually, it's a true story. In my path, I've gone years later to some people's homes, and they still had my business card in there. They actually had magnet business cards, and it's on the fridge.
Amazing.
10, 15 years before that, the card is still there. It's that kind of, so people still pick up until today. I still get calls. I'm not doing the job, but people call me like, "Hey, yeah, well, I'm not doing that now, but let me have someone help you," and I got them to someone as they can do. So those are things that we need to build as a culture. And the more of this, the more, if you're watching and listening and you're running a show, well, maybe there's an opportunity to look at these things. Maybe you're doing this already. That's great. But if not, maybe it's something that you can add to your little tricks. It can help. Trust me, it works. That's all I have to say. I mean, I'm not saying because I'm just saying it for the show. I'm saying because I've done it and it's been working. It works, and you just confirmed it.
Yeah, it's been working. And like, honestly speaking, like I have closed one business, like it's been a decade. I have closed that business, and I still have the social media handlers active over there, and people are still reaching over there. And whenever I analyze, or someone tells me like you get new followers and people are asking for this and like that, I kept a person over there who assists over there, and even the business is closed, but they like pass on the queries to the other businesses. So it's good over there. Like the people there, they're still trusting you and the market. So whenever I want to go back into the same market, they will welcome me over there. Like I'm having my clientage over there. So that's the impressive point also.
That's a great point, because again, industries are very small, folks, and the markets are small, and we it's a big circle. You just wind up at the same. You meet people again and again and again, and you do not want to be that person that has that reputation that, what, I don't care. The not caring. You want to be always in touch with people. You want to stay in the loop. You want to have the same, because again, someone can meet you like, oh, that dude, don't do business with that. You said it. I mean, reputations are everything, right? You build it, You can build 10 years of greatness, and all it takes is one thing. That's what the people are going to hold you responsible for. Sadly, but true. It's just the way our psychology works. So it's a problem. So try to be the best. I'm not saying you have to be a sucker or you just not, you have to like just let things go the way you have to be professional. You can stop things when you have to. There's a way to do everything correctly and a way not to. I mean, it's the same thing as the compliance, the do's and don'ts of operation. There's a do's of don'ts of people connections and making it happen.
Exactly.
I don't have to like someone. I can still be cordial. I can still agree to disagree with them. It's all good. Nothing wrong with that. Well,
Completely,
so
completely understanding. So I have learned actually a lot of stuff from you as well during the conversation. Like honestly speaking, like it was really impressive. Like you put a lot of points, and a lot of points are learning for me also, and I'm executing them. But sometimes, when you are in the process and you are in a hurry or you are into a lot of things, you forget the things. So it's a good recall as well.
listen, we the more it's repetition, right? It's you want to have that brain muscle memory kind of concept. Well, it's the same thing. Yeah, some of these things we are known. Our strategies used and overused and used and used. But if you're not doing them, you forget about them. And sometimes a little reminder doesn't cost us anything. It just helps us kind of reset. And believe me, it's a joke. I mean, if you follow me, so on the Instagram, we put in these AI things about how to turn a signal for driving, how to put a cart back in the supermarket. These are your standard things. Many people's like, oh, Hurricane, we know how to do that. Yes, you do, but someone may not, because I see that every day. Someone is not doing that. And so some of us need to be reminded every now and then. Nothing wrong with the reminder. It's just an added value. Just remind me every day of things. It's okay. I'll take them. Even if I don't care, they're just gonna hit there and they go out there. That's fine. But if they're gonna have a tweak there, I can operate better. It's just gonna improve my day. So that's the thing. So thank you for doing that, for sharing this. This is a big concept of, training is like, I'm in martial arts. If you don't do the technique over and over and you stop practicing, you lose the technique. It's
You
your
do the
speed
thing.
is not the same. So it's the same thing. So in business, we have to retrain ourselves. And sometimes these trainings, these retrainings, like you bring leaders to a table for training, not because they need it, it's because you get them to be operational again. Like, maybe, we test a little bit, how what's our level? Are we up here? Are we here? Are we here? So we can readjust the vent back up. But it only happens if we keep doing the reminders, and some of these things are just, repeats. Well, listen, I mean, we had some fun today, man, didn't we?
Yeah, it's impressive. Like a very, I was expecting that it's gonna end on the 1 hour, but it extended to like 20 minutes, 21 minutes extra. Oh my god, we
Yeah.
talk a lot, huh?
Well, I have a joke. I'm not 60 minutes, so it's okay. We don't end at
That's
60.
impressive.
We can do 2 hours. I've had shows for 3 hours, so I can tell you that much. But I do have another one actually after this one. But certainly, the discussion. This is just, today we discovered, we not discovered, we just, introduced, Muhammad, to our show. And hopefully we'll have more of these discussions with him. And, we can talk, next time about maybe some of the real estate, work and, strategies and what works and what doesn't. Obviously, if it's something that you can, certainly bring to the table, you have the expertise to it. That's what you do. And that these are things, that we're sharing publicly so people can maybe get some nuggets, as we say. That's all there is, folks. Anything you want to close the show today, because it is your show after all.
Okay, I just like want to close on one of the statement, like the consistency is the key, like for the success. So those who are the business owners, who are the salespersons, or the professionals in any of the industry, if you're consistent on your work, what you're doing, and you will be the successful in the next future. So just doing the repetitions, that's it.
All right. Well, with those words of wisdom, we'll be, departing and parting ourselves today. So that's the end of the show, folks. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion, our guest, insights, and that's about it. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.